Hi peeps, I'm Zen and welcome to video 6 of the Figma series, where we are going to be taking our base page that we made in the previous video and we're going to make a very simple home page that we can see on the screen here. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so as we said before, this is a very simple homepage. It's basically got a title and a bit of text, and we've put it into a box to make it look like a postcard, because again we're using a beach seaside theme, so a sort of little postcard thing would be quite nice. You can see it's been rotated slightly. I think it's about 5 degrees off the axis, just to sort of add to the sort of free-flowing seaside theme. It's fairly straightforward to do, and like I say, there's loads more we could do on this page. We could have added loads of photos down here or other bits and pieces, but remember, this is just meant to be a very simple, straightforward portfolio, and that's what we're making. So this is obviously the finished one, and what we need to do is obviously go to our base page that we made in the last video. So here we are in the seats folder, and we can see that we've got the original page, the base page that we made before. One of the things we're going to do quickly here is actually just to rename this. Okay, so if we right click here, we can go to rename, and we're just going to call this base first. Now we've got that, what we're going to do again is to right click it, and there is a duplicate option, and we're going to click on that, and so we get base copy, and we're going to rename that, and we're going to call that index, because the first page on on any web page should really be called index, and we're just going to put in brackets there home, so we know what we're on about. Okay, so we've just made a copy of this page to here. This is why we said before, we always want to get our base page perfect before we start making the rest of the website. Otherwise we're going to have to make multiple changes in multiple documents. And now we can just double click on this to open it up. Give it a moment. Okay, and again, if we open up the desktop, we can see we've got the group of text for our navigation, and we've got the background image as well. So what we want to do is to put in our postcard, and this is done very simply using a rectangle tool, but we need to make sure we get the right size and sort of dimensions right. So one of the things we're going to do is we're going to click back onto desktop, and we're going to turn back on the grid. So we're just going to click here on the closed eye to open it up, and then we're going to come over to here, and we're going to draw a rectangle, and I'm just going to do a simple one for the moment. And I think this is how I started off on my design. I went for originally a 640 by 400, and actually if I move that, it actually works perfectly here. And I started it off like this, and after a few bits of messing about, I realized it was perhaps a bit too small. The question should be though, why have I chosen 640 by 400? Well, the 640 is because, as we can see, it fits within our system. So we've got 200, 400, 600, and then the two gaps at 20 each makes it 640. The reason why we've chosen the height 400 is because this thing called the golden ratio. Now you can go online and research the golden ratio. I will be doing a video on it eventually. However, the golden ratio is quite simply a number which is, the ratio between the width and the height that essentially as humans we find very appealing. And although it's actually quite a long number, you can remember it as 1.61. And so what we did, we took the width, which is 640, and we divide that by 1.61 to give us the height. Now as you can see, it comes up to 397. So I just added 3 pixels to round it up to 400. Okay, so it's 397.5. No one's really going to notice the difference of 2.5 pixels. So rounding it up helps to make our maths a lot easier. And then I realised that actually, after I started putting some text in, it wasn't going to be big enough, and I'm not going to go through that with you guys now because I want to try and make this one a lot quicker than the previous one. So all I did was press down on the shift button, and then I took this corner and expanded it. Again, the reason why I've used the shift button is that it allows it to resize in the same ratio. And so there we go, we get it up to there. This is 8, no, let's see if we can get it so it'll be the right width. What should it be? It should be 1, 2, 3, 4, so it should be 800. It should be 860. So let's just fix that so we know it's actually going to be 860, and the X position should be 220, because again it is 200 plus the 20 gutter. And then we can think about the height. And you see the height is now at 536, so we could round it down to 535 or 530. I'm actually going to round it up to 540, and again there's no real reason behind that, it's just me and my numbers. And then I'm just going to change the Y position down a little bit. Again, let's see what it looks like at about 100 pixels down. Okay, and that roughly looks about the right size, right shape for me. The next thing I'm going to do is to add the center break. And again, if you look at postcards, and again I lived along the seafront, it's happened to me all the time. You'd have one side, actually to be honest it's the right hand side where the address would be, and then the left hand side to where people would write the text. I flipped that around just because it looks better for what we're doing, but you always have a little break, or you normally have a little break in the middle to help us see that. So again, I'm just going to add that. So I go to the line tool here, and I just go roughly in the middle, use my shift button to keep it straight. Okay, and now I've done that, and it looks, you don't want to do the whole height, you just want to cover a lot of it. The trick here is that you see how as I move this, it starts to try and work out the positions for you, and as you can see, it's along the center of the gutter. So I've got it dead center of the gutter vertically, and then I've got that horizontal line telling me that I think I've got it in the center of the page as well, or in the center of that rectangle. So I'm going to let go of it there, and that looks roughly correct. And all I'm going to do is just click on it, color pure black, and I'm going to give it a width of 3 to give it a bit more thickness. I'm just going to go back to the desktop now. Now I've got all this correct. I'm going to hide the layout grid. Okay, I'm going to go back to the rectangle itself, and I want to have a white background, so I'm going to click on the fill, select pure white there. But this time I also want it to have a border because it is a postcard and it should be visible. So we're going to add a stroke, and we'll probably just give it a stroke of 2. Okay, so we've got a nice little cut in the middle, and the border, so it's all nice and dandy. So the next thing we're going to do is on this left hand side is we're going to add the welcome message. And so we use the text tool, and we're just going to pull out a big bit of text there, text box, and if we're lucky, we've still got courgette set as our font. That's what we had originally. And what I'm going to do now though is I want to add underline. I'll tell you what, let's add the text in first, which is just welcome to my digital portfolio. Okay, so what we want to do is to highlight that, and we're going to set the text, let's go to about 96, and we can see I can't spell welcome. So that more or less fills it up, so that's great, but I want to have it highlighted, and what I want to do is to have it underlined, because again, the address section on a postcard normally has lines on it. And if we click on these 3 dots here on the right hand side, we can center align it. And is there the decoration? Yep, decoration here for underline. Perfect. Okay, so that's the sort of address side done. And then we just want to put the message on the other side. So again, it's just clicking the text box over. Obviously, we want this text slightly different, so let's just check. We don't want it underlined, that's great. We do want it left aligned, we don't want it right. We also want to change the size of the text. We don't want it 96, let's bring it down to about 18. And then we're going to type in our message. And again, obviously, you can put in whatever it is for your own message. For me, it's going to be hi, comma, I'm Zen, and welcome to my portfolio, and do the mandatory 3 exclamation marks. Okay, double enter, and in this site you will find information about me, my education, work that I have done in the BTEC or in my BTEC course, and some information about Devon, where I was born and raised. If you want any more information about me, or want to contact me for any reason, please use any of the methods in the contact page. And I will get back to you as soon as I can. Hope you enjoy looking around, trying to spell, around this site as much as I had making it. Now, just before we go any further, I'm going to perhaps add additional breaks into this text just to break up a little bit more. And all this text here is left aligned, but what I'm going to do here is, what I want to do now, if we have a look at the guide, here's the guide, we can see that this text here is centered, whereas this text here, or the rest of the text, is left aligned. The problem we have is that if we try to center align these two lines of text, it will actually do the whole text block. So what we need to do is to do them as two separate text blocks. So all we're going to do is to add another text block. We're going to make it the same width, because that's important, because we want it centered in relation to the rest of the text. And then we're just going to type in best wishes, and then Zen, and we just change that text box to fit. And then we can center align it, and there we have it. One thing I will point out at this stage, is the informality of this text. Okay, especially with this best wishes Zen. This is not the way I would normally sign off or have written in text on a website. But you've got to remember two things. Number one, this is a digital portfolio and it's a personal website, and therefore it reflects me. So there should be a more personal touch, and it can be a bit less formal. On top of that, this text is meant to be part of a postcard, and postcards are friendly and informal. So best wishes is a good sort of closer for a informal type of thing. However, if you're doing a more formal looking website, a more professional website, if you like, in overall design, you perhaps wouldn't use best wishes. You might use something like regards and then your name. And again, being more formal, you perhaps put your full name, the title, you know, Mr. etc. etc. But because this is a postcard, I'm keeping it informal, so that's why we've done it. So that is more or less the postcard done. All the content's in there. You know, we could resize the text, we could put some more information in. I mean, this is sort of like the minimum amount of information you should sort of have as your opening page. You know, it's polite, you're welcoming them to the site, you're telling them what the site will contain, if they want more information, how should they come about contacting you, and just a sort of signing off bit at the bottom. You can make this a lot more formal, where you'd be explaining in the home page that this website is to showcase your work, to let people see what you're capable of doing, etc. etc. But it can also just be informal but more personal. You could be including information about yourself. You know, maybe you've got an unusual heritage. Maybe you're, you know, or half Irish, quarter Australian, quarter Nigerian, or whatever it is. This is a time for you to really talk about, if you want, you know, more information about yourself. Don't forget you've got this about page where you're going to go into more detail. But there's absolutely nothing wrong in giving them just a little bit more information about you. So we've got this, and now if you remember in the demo one, it's actually rotated slightly. So what we do is that we're actually going to group up like we did all of the postcards, like we did, sorry, with the navigation bar. We're going to group up all the postcard elements together. So I've done here, and if you remember how to do that, that is click on the first item, shift and click at the N item to select them all. Then we're going to right click and we're going to group selection. Now we've done that, we can click on the group itself and come over here to the right hand side, and we can type in the rotation there. And I'm actually just going to type in 10 because I'm going to change it in a moment. Now what you can also do, which I'm going to do here, is actually you can also move to the corner of it, click, and you can drag it as well. And I'm actually going to drag it back down to, well, actually correct it to 5 degrees. And because this is the home page and there's nothing else going on in this page, even though I initially set this up using the layout grid, because it is angled, you can see it sort of starts coming out of it. And in particular, the problem we have there, oops, that's a fill color, wrong one, is that it's starting to lean onto the navigation. Now that's not necessarily, it's not really a deal breaker, but even so, what I'm going to do is actually to move the group itself just slightly away from it. Okay, just so it's more centered in the available space. Like I said, because this is the home page, and I'm actually moving it down a little bit more as well, and this is really fine because it is the home page. And I say I haven't got any items down here, which I could do. You know, I could have, like I said before, some photos down here, more bits of information. But because this is a very simple page, actually breaking the column rule in this particular instance isn't such a big deal. And we can see the Y value is a bit sort of erratic. And again, we'll probably, when we're actually making the website, move it around a bit just to make it look a bit better anyway. But there we have it. And again, if we then preview it, there we have. That's our home page. Done. Nice and neat. Don't need to do anything else to it. For a level 2 digital portfolio homepage, this is absolutely fine. You've got the important bits, you've got your navigation, you've got an introduction. That's all you need. So that's the end of this video. And as usual, please like, comment, subscribe, and tell me how I could improve this video. Can't do it without your help. This is Zen, signing off.